No tool marks. A single piece of seamless quartz. Cut across the grain. It's not possible even with today's technology it would shatter. Crystal's not magnetic.
Neither's gold.
What is this thing?
Welcome back.
Welcome back
to Kino Summer Series. We're continuing our Indiana Jones marathon with a particularly spicy entry. It's called Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull from
He's only saying that because a good chunk of this movie is set in Latin America, but continue.
No, I'm saying because this was a major talking point on the internet in the late 2000s. It was completely blown out of proportion.
Blown out of proportion.
This started like a bandwagon of nerds, mostly started by Gen X fucks, the same people that hate the fucking prequels, and just use it as an excuse to rag on George Lucas and everything in between. It didn't start, but it really exemplifies the problem with armchair nitpicking of movies to death. And
looking at you, Harry Knowles.
Yeah, and this movie is a step or two below the rest of the Indiana Jones movies, but I still enjoyed it as a kid, and I still enjoy it now. And I want to talk about, I'm not going to just jerk off this movie, obviously there's problems with it, but I do want to defend most of it because people just need to fucking calm down. And also, I think it was ahead of its time in the way that blockbusters are made and how it uses CGI. I think just people weren't ready for that yet. And now it's so commonplace. Go watch the movie for the fucking Flash. It's 10 times more garish than anything you could find in this movie.
Go watch the trailer, you mean, you fucking idiot.
Okay, well, anyway. By the time this episode's out, you can go watch The Flash. I'm sure.
Does The Flash come out this weekend or next weekend?
Next weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it's probably been a while for you guys since you've watched this movie. Y'all did not watch it nearly as much as I did as a kid. In fact, rewatching this, I was like, I've seen this movie too much. Like, I've watched it over.
How many? Because I've seen it a few times. I've seen it maybe like 3, but
no.
How many are we talking here?
Like as much as I've seen Raiders.
Jesus Christ, man! I was afraid you were gonna say that.
This was my second viewing.
Yeah,
your second viewing ever. So I'm very interested in your opinion since theaters.
I didn't like it in theaters, and I have to say, this movie gets too much shit.
Yeah,
this movie is not bad.
It's not bad. It's not great.
Really not.
It's like I hate to put. We don't really put scores on movies, but just for the sake of the argument, it's like a 7 out of 10 good movie.
Yeah,
people act is like the fucking Antichrist or something.
This movie
it's like it's 3 out of 10 or something.
This movie is fun. It's adventurous. There's crazy set pieces.
Yeah,
and crazy action scenes. Good humor. It does feel like a little bit of an ensemble cast, but that's okay. And for me, I guess as a kid, I was a lot more taken out of the experience when it was an alien, but now it's like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Well, now you know that going in.
Yeah.
So you can prep for it.
But I actually had a lot of fun. I watched it today. I had a lot of fucking fun with this movie.
Thank God, dude. That's so vindicating for me after years of putting up with
I take back anything I've ever said negatively about this, because I had a fucking blast watching this. This might have some of the more fun adventure scenes in all of the Indiana Jones films. There's some crazy ass shit they do in this.
Yeah. And it's like, people for some reason, nah, there's a few things I'm like, okay, I can see you not liking the scene. It's R-worded as fuck. And we'll get to that. But it's just the non-stop nitpicking of every single thing. Everyone complained about the groundhogs being CG, and it's like, who the fuck cares? And,
Yeah, they look fine. It'd be different if they look fucking stupid.
What it is, people, what it is people latching on to the obvious details of a movie because they're not educated enough or smart enough to make an opinion on why structurally a movie doesn't work. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
I
have a feeling,
easy. Despite it being what, 2 shots in the movie, maybe.
Yeah. I feel like if they would have been puppets, they would have bitched about that too. They would have said it looked corny or something.
I mean, there's really no reason other than just, I mean, set dressing and setting tone.
Well, they just wanted to do the match shot with the Paramount logo. That's it, really.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's in the desert. Also,
then establishing we already made this 3D model. Let's animate them looking at the atomic blast.
This movie gives you all the indie tropes, but steps everything up to a literal nuclear level.
Yeah. And it's
I'm not bitching about it anymore.
And another example people would complain about, they're like, Indiana Jones doesn't even use his gun in the movie. It's like, who cares? Like, he uses a fucking bazooka. Is that not good enough for you? Like, what's your argument here? Just because he almost uses his gun but doesn't.
He doesn't use his gun much at all in any of the movies.
I know.
I like Indiana Jones because he's not John Wick. He's a college professor who uses a bullwhip.
Although in this one, he's now a former CIA agent and operative of the U.S. government. Which
they gloss over. I mean, he would have been drafted.
I do. Yeah, no, I like we get a little detail. It's like, okay, he did go and fight in World War II once it escalated. So he got to deal with more Nazis. So that sucks for him.
He's killed a lot of Nazis.
Yeah. So that's another example of the nitpicking in the 2000s. And that's the thing, is like, there's still plenty of great hand-to-hand combat that he does. So what's your beef? Also, Dial of Destiny has retroactively made him look nice and young as fuck in this movie. Like, he does not look as old as I think people remember.
No,
he looks good.
Yeah.
That's one. As soon as he stepped on screen, which, by the way, this is a very quick introduction to Indy, and it's not as built up, or it's not as nice of an introduction as it is in say Raiders, where it builds up, or even Temple of Doom, where he's wearing the white tux. It's just kind of like, all right, Indy's here. That's how it felt. But as soon as he stepped on screen, I thought, I mean, he's looking pretty young in this.
Yeah,
because I'm so used to him. Really good shape.
Dial, like, there's believable. Dial of Destiny, I don't know what they're gonna have him doing. I can't even buy him fighting like anyone.
Yeah,
I can't buy it.
Well, that's the thing, is like, he kept himself in great shape. Being in his 60s is like almost like being in your 40s back in the 80s, now, like, because this is ahead of its time with that too, because now it's commonplace for these 50s and late 50s, early 60s people to be in action centric roles. Most of the Avengers are in their 50s, so it's not too far fetched.
Also, TRT, I think, has made great strides since then.
He's still badass in this movie. There's some good action with him, and the thing is, it's like a lot of this bandwagon bullshit was perpetuated by South Park, because they did an episode that was really disgusting to me about just like dragging shit out of proportion and saying some really disgusting things that I'm not gonna say on here.
To be honest with you, that whole episode is making fun of the fan base there.
It really is.
It's not necessarily showing that Indiana Jones. It shows that, but it's showing how big these Gen Xers blow shit out of proportion.
Well, they didn't get it, obviously, because they used it as like
I know.
They probably did both. Because they are Gen Xers, they were probably like, this movie's kind of unnecessary, but we're still gonna shit on all the neckbeards who crap on it. Because here's the thing.
Okay.
I remember there's stuff in that movie because it's South Park. They take a swing at everybody. And it's South Park.
Right.
But they even have a part in that episode, I think, where Steven Spielberg. So didn't he edit some of the guns out of E.T. and replace them with walkie-talkies?
In the 20th anniversary, he did, and then he regretted it big time. And he was like, "Why did I fucking do that?"
Well, now they have a joke in the show where it's like he does that with Saving Private Ryan. He replaces it all with walkie-talkies. The whole
That's
movie.
funny.
They're just on Omaha Beach with walkie-talkies, but they're still getting blown up and blood everywhere.
I will be the first.
The point of that is, I do think it's aware of how ridiculous some of the criticisms are.
Okay.
I will be the first to admit. Like I said, I only saw this once, and it was right around release. I don't think I saw this in theaters.
Yeah.
I did see it right afterwards. And this was 2008. So
Yeah.
it was 13, 14 when it came out.
Right.
I definitely think I was influenced more by internet talks.
Yeah.
And things of that nature back then. And that was me with the prequels too. And now I'm like heavily a proponent of the prequels, but I think that's due to another few things there.
Well, I also think part of that's due to internet talks, which prequel memes have almost retroactively made the prequels better than they are.
Well, I still have my problems with the prequels and stuff, but like they're way better. Since we got the sequels now, they are 10 times, a million times fucking better.
Well, that's true. I still admit there are parts of episodes 1 and 2 that are kind of rough watches for me, or I'm just kind of like, okay, let's get this scene going a bit. But no, episode 3 is still a masterpiece. But this was the next step in George Lucas bringing back his old properties. And I think outside of the prequels, what major sort of let's backdoor reboot a franchise was there? I'm trying to think, because now we have Ghostbusters Afterlife and obviously The Force Awakens and a million TV shows like Cobra Kai and stuff. What are you about to say, Casher?
Herbie Fully Loaded.
Okay. Herbie Fully Loaded. They had that weird spate of Starsky and Hutch and all the you were right, Bewitched.
Yeah, dude. A lot of them suck too, man.
I didn't see many, if any, because I heard they weren't that good. It was like
Dukes of Hazzard. I've seen Starsky and Hutch, which is a guilty pleasure.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard is bad. Starsky and Hutch is fun.
Bewitched was bad. A lot of them didn't get the heart of those shows and what they were going for, and they did this gross 2000 spin on them, and it just sucked.
It's like they made them like these real raunchy comedies and stuff.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, one of the ones that came around the same time that was fucking good is the Miami Vice reboot. That one.
I heard
that fucking movie is awesome.
Tony Scott, right?
Yeah, that movie. Yeah. That movie's fucking rad.
Yeah. Side note, folks at home, when young Kino Cowboy was in 7th grade, he had a weird hyperfixation on TV Land, and I would watch all these old sitcoms. I've seen every episode of Bewitched. I've seen every episode of I Dream of Jeannie. I've seen about 80% of Andy Griffith. I never liked Leave It to Beaver. Even I thought that was lame at the time. I've seen a lot of Brady Bunch, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, just a little fun fact there.
But anyway, my point is audiences were not as used to it. Sorry, Casher, did I cut you off?
You're good. No, I was just going to say Adrian's a real big fan of Midriff if he's watched every episode of Bewitched.
Or you mean I Dream of Jeannie? You described to me I Dream of Jeannie as the ultimate 60s male fantasy.
Just
Scantily clad woman walking around doing your every whim in your house.
She cleans and cooks for you. And
God.
Once she's done, you can put her back in her bottle, and then that's it. Yeah,
she has the nose thing though.
That's Bewitched.
Yeah, I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah, they're very similar shows.
Yeah, it's they did that back in the day.
It's like Scooby Doo and Speed Buggy, it's like whatever.
I don't know what he is.
But yeah. What I like about this movie is ancient alien shit, because I was very I've always been privy to UFO stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And back then in middle school, that's when I was really starting to look up things, watch UFO videos. My grandpa, of all people, who I would have never guessed, was like, he would watch the History Channel and he would show me alien documentaries and shit that were on TV and stuff, and he'd be real into them. And no one in the family knows this except for me, so he would really talk to me about UFO stuff, and it was really out of character for him because the man was really old fashioned and very grounded in what he liked to watch. And he was in the military, and it makes me wonder if he fucking saw or experienced anything while he was deployed.
No, he could have seen some UAPs or whatever they're called now.
Yeah.
But or at least heard about them somewhere. So he knows something's going on. No, and I remember when this came out, I feel like this was, when did the show Ancient Aliens start? Because I had read about the Nazca lines and stuff like that before. I was also into it. I read all that stuff in middle school. This came out when I was in high school. And so I was okay with the idea of aliens. And later, I think I kind of realized also, oh, it's the 50s. They're trying to do the 50s serial thing. So it's aliens. And it is religion. It's just a different kind of religion. Yeah. And again, I was kind of prepped for that because I had even known of like drawings of spacemen and like Latin American art and what have you.
Yeah,
I was prepped for it. So Casher, you walked out of the theater. Were you like, do you remember? Were you like, aliens? What the F? Or was it the internet?
I didn't see this in theaters. Yeah, I didn't like the aliens thing. It took me out of the experience when I was younger, and kind of confused me a little bit because I wasn't privy on ancient aliens. My big shit was like dinosaurs. I was that kind of.
So would it have been better if he had discovered the lost world full of dinosaurs?
No.
Journey to the center of the earth. Yeah.
No, that's the thing is like, why were so many people surprised that it was aliens? Because before it even came out, there were a lot of people talking about the actual crystal skulls beforehand. There was even like TV specials and shit on the news about them. And even the opening scene, it should lay it out for you. And if you don't like the execution completely, fine. But it just being aliens not working, quote unquote, for Indiana Jones is stupid to me because obviously this is the 50s and George Lucas wanted to base it off of serials of the 50s and the kind of shit that kids were watching in the 50s, which had moved to the space race, of course. And so that's what was popular at the time. So why wouldn't Indiana Jones move into that era? Why would there still be Nazis? There's not Nazis. You could argue they could go. I know. You could argue they could go after some other Christian artifact. And they're like, why didn't they go after the cross of Christ and stuff like that? I'm like, dude,
it's too big to carry around.
I don't know. That's fine. Also, the Soviets make a fine.
Can you imagine Indiana Jones and Sulla have to carry the cross of Christ out of the tomb or something?
People wanted it to be safe. They wanted it to be another Christian artifact, blah, blah, blah. And the Soviets are just a fine replacement for the Nazis anyway. The
Soviets were a perfect replacement.
I know.
For 1957,
yeah,
it makes fucking sense.
The difference, because it is Ancient Aliens, the mystery in this one's different. It kind of builds up, and like you're kind of wondering if it is this otherworldly thing, and you're trying to figure out what the skulls are and all this thing, and like. Normally, you're just following them, trying to figure out the clues of where the artifact is. And you do that in this movie. But also, there's the whole mystery of what's actually going on. Who was here before us? What does this have to do with the Aztecs? All that kind of stuff. So it's just like, there's more to it than just, we got to figure out where this treasure is.
I do want to say, I think one of the things that's funny about my perspective on this is like not too soon after I saw this movie, and it wasn't inspired by this, that I started getting like madly obsessed with the Mayan doomsday prophecy.
Oh yeah,
to the point where like I was having panic attacks about it.
Oh shit!
I got really deep into like religious aspects, the religious figures of like the Mayans, and if they were aliens or if whatever happened here. So I'm surprised I didn't like this more whenever I was younger. But again, chalk that up to being impressionable by the internet and being an early fucking meme lord. So
I will say, in relation to the zeitgeist of the Ancient Aliens things, Ancient Aliens made its television debut 10 months after this movie released.
Okay.
So I'm not saying it was Indiana Jones but it was Indiana Jones.
Very well could have been for sure.
But I was all but before that, it was kind of a build up on the History Channel because they were doing a lot of different documentaries on this kind of stuff.
On that and Bigfoot. I remember because I would watch the real history stuff and all the nerdy stuff
Yeah.
before they just completely went,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was on the opposite spectrum. I was on Animal Planet and Discovery Channel watching about dinosaurs and monkeys.
Yeah.
So that was my
Which
half.
is valid.
That's fine. There's
yeah.
monkeys in this movie.
It's they were dope in this movie too. I was watching that. I like I know people probably bitched about the monkey scenes, but I thoroughly enjoy scenes like that. Remind me of the Jumanji fucking Capuchins a little bit.
See, that's one of the few scenes that I side with fucking Gen Xers on. I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna be with Adrian here. That and I'll just say it, and the French, or not the French, the fridge. I also hate the French.
I love
But no, that and the fridge,
so
I'm just
much.
like, I don't know about this.
Nuking
Bro.
the fridge was a good choice.
It was
brought us
cool.
right?
I love it.
We were at the point where we were post, Oppenheimer and all that stuff. And it felt appropriate to have him walk into some 50s landscape and have to escape a nuclear bomb with a lead lined fridge. I like that.
Yeah.
Survived the landing.
But right before we get to that, though, I want to say there are some good set pieces, like at the very beginning when he's in the warehouse. Did they have to show the Ark of the Covenant in that scene? No. But does that make the movie unwatchable? No. Just fucking move on. Who cares? It's just a little.
They show the Ark of the Covenant painting in Last Crusade for no reason. It adds nothing to the movie.
Yeah.
Good
And I like that he has to figure it out, and he realizes, he takes the bullets out, and it's magnetic, this or that. So that's fine. And I like that the joke where he swings and he crashes into the car. And he's like, damn, I thought that was closer. It's just like,
yeah, that was in the trailer.
It's just a good way. It's like, okay, he's still got it physically, but he's making some mistakes that he may have not have made when he was younger. So that's just, and then I like how that sequence bleeds into him and that dude fighting on top of that test rocket thing. Because
I love that.
Yeah.
That shit's cool.
Yeah, it's cool, man, and it's fun. And
he somehow was able to just like run away real quickly afterwards, even though the other guy is knocked out from the.
Yeah. Well, stands to reason that maybe he was learned to fly a little bit in the army. Maybe he can withstand G-force better. It doesn't matter. I think he's been through so much that it's not that big of a deal for him.
No, but it does. It's funny that he stumbles upon a test site because that's what New Mexico ended up being.
Yeah, but it's also like it's really well done because it's a creepy ass scene, and again, it's like real suspenseful, and it's pure like B-movie comic book pulpy sci-fi fiction.
Dude, absolutely.
Because it's so empty, and the music's playing on the TV and stuff, and it's just empty. I love that sequence. It's not realistic, but and that's the thing. He survives a nuclear blast. Is that too far? A lot of people can see the argument for yes, and for sure I can see that. But it's so insane that I love it, and it might be a symptom of watching it at 13 or 14. But
it takes me out of the movie. Still,
that's fine.
It's so much of a leap from everything we've seen Indy do, and we've seen him do a lot. But maybe they're betting like, well, if people will buy this, they'll buy Aliens and whatever else we throw at them. I don't know.
So it feels like the natural progression, though, because like back whenever we got the first movies, they're all based in like the 30s and early 40s and things like that. So a lot of these always feel like old school comic books to me. And so like of course the earlier ones are going to be more grounded. They're still going to be crazy, but they're not going to have crazy shit like this. But then the comic books over and over and over written, that it's finally going to end up being some batshit thing like this.
Yeah.
But because it's appropriate to the decade, I think.
Yes, but I can see why it would be too much for people, but I don't know. Like some of it's just like somehow I can just suspend my disbelief, whatever.
The thing is, it feels like the stunts in the other movies, outside of the mystical ones, were at least somewhat grounded in realism. I do think the fact that it's pure CGI, and the CGI in this movie is good for the time, but it's dated now for sure. It sticks out, adds to it, and it's everything else seems at least grounded in reality. This seems like pure comic book thing, and also I think to the average audience member, they don't think, well, that this is based on like 50s serials and comics and pulp, and not the 30s. They're not thinking that way. You have to realize that's why people complain.
They should be. But and they at the very least, it immediately cuts to him getting scrubbed down and irradiated or whatever in that facility. So
yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't died of leukemia by Dial of Destiny. Maybe that's the plot. Is they're trying to find a cure for his radiation.
That would be funny. But you know, whatever. They cleaned him up. And but that's the thing, is like that's just like the first 20 minutes. We get the sequence in the warehouse, the fight on the rocket, and the nuclear town explosion thing, all like within the first 20 minutes. All these 3 insanely impressive set pieces. I don't know, it's cool. And then we get them thinking he's a commie, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of good personal.
Oh yeah, and janitor from Scrubs is there.
Yeah.
It is interesting to hear about, you know, I already said this about how he fought in the war, et cetera, et cetera. But also in the warehouse at the beginning, we're introduced to the most unlikable and useless character, Winstone's what's his name in the movie? I don't even remember. Mac, yeah. I don't like this character. He's he could have been cut from the movie. I know that's how Spalko finds them at the end in the throne room or whatever, but like she could have figured it out a different way. I do not like the triple agent shit. It's just annoying to me.
It's the triple agent because he's not charismatic enough as a character, and I'm not going to blame it on the actor. He's not charismatic enough as a character to be likable. And we don't know his history with this character. It's all explained through exposition. So as an audience member, I have no reason to care about this guy or that he's double crossing. He's just an annoying guy in this movie who keeps throwing a wrench in the gears for the rest of the crew. So I don't really care. Even when he triple agents or whatever, it's kind of like, well, I don't know. This guy always seemed like a piece to me. It's not that surprising. It doesn't feel like
it's just more annoying than anything.
It doesn't feel like the stakes are raised all that much because he also doesn't seem like that much of a threat to Indy. You know?
Yeah.
No, he's just a greedy,
chubby, slimy guy.
He's just a greedy.
He reminds me of a shittier version of Monterey Jack from the Chipmunk show. What was that called? Rescue Rangers.
Yeah. Well, Monterey Jack had a drug problem, and this guy just like.
Oh yeah, that's true.
The pilot or whoever who always wants cheese.
Yeah, and in the Rescue Rangers movie, they turned it into like a drug problem. It's like that's the obvious joke, but you know, it's still kind of mildly amusing, I guess.
It's funny. I like the Rescue Rangers,
but you know, anyway, we do get to see that he is still teaching, which is nice, even though he's about to be momentarily let go. And it's a shame Marcus died. But how old was that? Was the actor still alive? Or
no, he died in 92.
Connery
was still alive. I was actually just reading that.
Yeah, I knew Connery was still alive, but it made sense to kill off Connery because now Indy gets to do that father,
Well,
role.
The big thing was they were going to have both of them appear if they could when they started planning this.
Oh yeah.
But Brody's actor had passed away, and Connery said he was enjoying retirement a little too much.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fair. Fuck it.
And then also, I think Connery in real life is only like 9 years older than Harrison or something.
Yeah, that's the weird shit.
Yeah, but in the movie, it's more believable.
He just looks older. Yeah,
Henry would be dead by this point. Yeah,
Ford was like he could be his own father from the older indie movies. In this movie, I was like, damn.
Yeah. So obviously, the dean now is this guy named Charlie, who's Slughorn. I don't remember his real name, but
One of the best characters in the movies of fucking Harry Potter.
yeah, I love him in Harry Potter.
All hands on deck, Granger.
Yeah, and he does a serviceable job, and he does like he is pretty much like Marcus, but I do like when he's in Indy's house and he's like, I barely recognize this country anymore. The government has us seeing communists in our soup, and it's like, yeah, nothing's changed, has it?
No, it's McCarthyism, and the intellectuals didn't like it because they're a bunch of leftists and commie sympathizers.
and so it's definitely like it's basically a different shade of red. Nazis, now it's fucking commies, or the red,
right?
And it's the same kind of shit. And I do like the fact that Indy was like, he was leaving town. Like, he was like, fuck it, there's nothing left for me here, I'm about to dip. And then Mutt Williams shows up and
good old Shia LaBeouf
reels him back in. And for people at home, if you're a younger listener, let's talk about Shia LaBeouf's 2007 to 2008.
Let's talk about Shabbat Shalom.
Yes, Shabbat Shalom. This guy had a hell of a few years in the mid to late 2000s.
Right. So if you're younger, you don't know, he was first a child actor on a Disney Channel show called Even Stevens, which I did not watch.
I watched a little bit. I was never a big fan, but I was a huge fan of Holes because I read the book at school, and then I remember we rented the movie, and it was one of the better book adaptations I'd ever seen.
It's definitely one of the best kid book adaptations that's been made too.
Yeah. He like blew up because of that.
He was in Transformers before this.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. He did in 2007, he did Disturbia, Surf's Up, and Transformers. And then 2008
that year too?
No, 2008 he did Indiana Jones and Eagle Eye, and then 2009 he did Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen and New York, I Love You. So
Disturbia had a fucking chokehold on me.
Disturbia holds up.
I love that fucking movie.
Like this teen contemporary take on like Rear Window.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun watch. It's also like really dated in its time, so it's fun as like a time capsule kind of thing. But for a PG-13 thriller, it was fun.
Badass. I watched that movie a lot as a kid.
Yeah, I did too. I would take that DVD over to everybody's house, be like, let's watch this shit. Yeah. And to be fair, Transformers, to the first one in 2007, was a decent enough blockbuster movie. It had a lot of people enjoyed it, and him being the star of that role put him as like a household name really fast. So, and I do enjoy his presence in film. I'm not saying he's a good person.
He's a trouble person for sure.
But I do actually really enjoy him in this movie. And I know a lot of people don't like Shia LaBeouf, but I like him.
He's all right in this.
Yeah.
I would say
he gives a better performance than Harrison some lines.
I would say if you wanted to get to know him, watch American Honey, but he revealed that none of that was fucking true.
Yeah.
Which is
fucking insane.
He just trashed his dad's reputation for no reason. Well, not for no reason to make a movie. But apparently he's like, no, I had a great dad. He wasn't abusive at all. Even
I'm actually pretty fascinated with the person of Shia LaBeouf, to be honest with you. He's kind of an enigma.
Yeah.
Really and intentionally so. His brand is being an enigma.
Yeah, well, he's like hyper intelligent and like has a clear understanding of human emotion from all the podcasts I've listened to, but does not display that on himself. Like, knows how things work and how people can work, but somehow that does not transfer into fixing any of his addictions or problems. Which I've heard recently he's been like with a bunch of like Catholic priests and is working on a film about them right now.
Also, I somehow never put two and two together until like a few months ago that he's married to Mia Goth and has been since 2016. It's like, how did he bag that? Son of a bitch.
Wasn't he also in iRobot at this time too?
And that was actually earlier than I thought. That's 2004.
Whoa, I didn't know that. That movie,
Yeah, that's almost 20
that's
years
another
old.
movie that had a chokehold on me for a while.
That
never got-
movie is early to mid 2000s as hell.
I never got into it, really. I
There's
saw it
Converse in the movie.
There's what?
That Converse shoes product placement at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Those were so big at the time. That movie it's also a complete bastardization of Asimov.
Yeah, the main doctor.
Not even close to the book.
Yeah. I like him being a greaser in this movie because he comes off as like a little bit of a tryhard. It shows that he's not as tough as he looks
in real life. He's a
yeah, exactly. Tryhard. But also like Spielberg and George Lucas, they know how to capture that kind of 50s teen kind of greasers and so's kind of thing.
Well, because they were around it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, because if you and I, it's kind of like trying to make a movie in the 1850s. But if you or I tried to make a movie in the 1950s, we would be basing it off of historical research and also previous depictions in cinema.
We'd be basing it off of American Graffiti.
Yep.
One day soon, we will have greasers in a movie when nobody has seen a greaser grease before.
Yeah.
And it will be.
Let's hope that's sooner than later.
I like this diner sequence. I like the exposition here. Once again, Spielberg makes the exposition interesting surrounding what they're looking for, especially because Shia's character, he like dips his comb in this dude's drink. He tries to steal a beer. He also, you get to know his character through this sequence when he like gets enraged when Indy just asks certain seemingly benign questions, and also you get Indy telling him to like relax, dude, like it's not that big of a deal. And then you get the two KGB watching him from afar, just all these different things, and it builds up to, because of Mutt doing these kind of cool guy things to this other table near him, it builds up and makes sense for when he actually punches him as a distraction. And I like that it's such a fun sequence of like, all right, get that greaser. Now they're all fighting and brawling out.
It's almost has the same energy as Food Fight or something like that.
Or
it's over the top like Grease, but it works for me. And also he's talking about El Dorado, City of Lost Gold. That's Indiana Jones as hell. And it's even more Indiana Jones when you realize the treasure is mostly knowledge. I don't know. It just works.
No, that is the thing when people are like, oh, it's not Indiana Jones enough. Like the fact that he's looking for El Dorado, that's pretty Indiana Jones. I mean, same thing with I assume looking for Atlantis in this next one. I don't know. I haven't read it. There's an old LucasArts game called Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. If you want to play that.
Yeah, or there's several Indiana Jones games.
And that's supposed to be one of the better ones. So maybe maybe this will be the best video game movie ever made at the end of the day. We don't know. No, that belongs to Mortal Kombat OG.
And then there's a really good chase scene in this movie, and it's this one where they're riding from the KGB and Indy's on the back of the motorcycle, and he goes through the car and like jumps onto the back, and then they go through the library at the school, and he gets that moment with that student, and he's like, at this point he's telling his students, if you want to get results, you have to get out of the library, which I think is a nice like full circle moment from when he was always acting like he was always telling his students, like, archaeology isn't going out on adventures and grave robbing and shit, it's academic. And now he's like, fuck it, you know what, go out there and seek it out.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt he's like also shoot Nazis and rob graves.
Well,
at least go to the dig site.
Fun fact, Chet Hanks plays student in library in that scene.
What? That's Chet Hanks?
Hanks?
No fucking way, dude.
Boomba clot wagwan.
Dude, that guy is fucking...
Hold on, we're stopping the podcast then.
Go to the casting. It says at the very last sentence of like the first paragraph says Chet
That's
Hanks.
him. Oh my god. I'm surprised someone of his talents was able to play an intelligent student so well, but I don't know. Maybe that's why he was having trouble, because he was too hopped up
It's
on
so fucking wild.
He probably stole his dad's adrenochrome, for no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Well, it's not.
Tom Hanks is a pedophile. That's the joke. It's not a joke.
Shut up, dude. We don't advocate, we don't perpetuate conservative conspiracy theories.
No,
on here.
Casher perpetuates this one though. And I can't tell how much of it is an ironic running bit versus how much he really believes.
It's not. Well, we won't get into it.
Okay.
Anyway,
this video is screwed now because now it's just gonna recommend us to like Jordan Peterson and conspiracy theory. Like the algorithm, you just messed it up, man.
yeah, yeah, dude. They also we get like they go to South America and they go to this like very specific small little town, and of course Indy can speak their specific Spanish dialect.
It's not when I listened to it, I was listening to it and I was like, oh, it makes sense that of all the languages he would speak Spanish. And then I was listening to, I'm like, is this Spanish? What is it? And then he says, yeah, it's a very specific regional dialect. I'm like, okay. So
they go to Peru. I wonder if Journey would know the
Man,
it's probably made up. It's some village.
I don't know. But they're from Peru.
I just like
She's from Peru, is what I'm saying.
they add to the mystery when they go in and they see Oxley where he was imprisoned or not, insane asylum or whatever. And they see all this writing on the walls and all the drawings of the skull and stuff. And that's when it really starts to hit you with that mystery of not just finding the artifact, of figure out what's actually going on. And I do like that setup. I remember my mom in the theater leaning over me and she's like, wow, this is really good so far. And I was like, yeah. And I don't know. We also get a lot of this right after this. They go to that site, where they wanted, or Oriana's cradle or whatever. They're going to look for the skull, and it's an ancient grave site. It's keeping it fresh for Indiana Jones while still making it familiar, I'd say. But
what's crazy to me is that the jungle is so familiar for me with Indiana Jones, and I look at the jungle as like being the main setting for Indy. But the jungle's not used as much as I would have thought.
Yeah, jungle's really just at the beginning of Raiders.
Yeah.
That's why it is. He's in Latin America at the beginning of Raiders in the jungle.
Which is crazy to me. Like, that's the biggest place that I would associate Indiana Jones in my brain is in the fucking jungle.
That's interesting. A lot of me would be the desert because he's, in Egypt and Syria or wherever.
And then Jordan or whatever they say it is in Last Crusade.
He's a little bit he's in the desert a little bit in Temple of Doom when they're riding the elephants. Or in the jungle, I mean.
But it's really underutilized, and that's why rewatching this was like, this movie is like entirely in the jungle.
Yeah. But I will say those dudes in the skull masks that attack them kind of have that same Orientalist feel that some of the shit in Temple of Doom feels like. I don't know what the word would be because it's not the Orient.
Racist?
Well, no, it's just like,
I get it. Exoticizes a legitimate
South American version,
by making it seem almost inhuman because it doesn't align with
because they're like climbing on trees and jumping around and shit. I'm
like savage core.
Yeah, savage core. Yeah, Indiana Jones is savage core as fuck. And we get Indy, saving their lives, and he blows the dart back, which I do like. That's fucking gnarly.
So badass.
And he doesn't have to use his gun. That's the thing. I don't know why people want him to use it so bad, but he does have it, and he's like doesn't have to use it. And now Mutt's like, okay, maybe this guy is kind of legit. He's like, you're a teacher? I don't know.
They left my bike.
Yeah, but that they when they go in there, it's a nonstop display of Indy's wealth of knowledge on how to go about these kinds of dungeons, basically. And whether it's Mutt getting bit by the scorpion or the kind of flat thing that he gets on that bends downward and backwards that takes him to the chamber and stuff. And so Mutt starts to listen to him more and more, and we get this kind of like reminiscence relationship that Indy and his dad had. But it's so different enough that it's not repetitive in any way, because Mutt obviously knows nothing about any of this, and he's just the cool guy. But obviously he's trying to help as much as he can. But I do like, once they do unravel the skull, first of all, the theme for the crystal skull is cool. It's mysterious as fuck, and it builds the suspense. But you do get the moment where Indy's just completely, he doesn't know. Like, he's just like, what is this? Because normally he has some sort of idea, and for the first time in the series, this time it's just so otherworldly, so out there that he has no idea. And to me, that's like the biggest threat to this guy. Because
no, that is really interesting that you say that, and it is true. I can't think of another time where he was just stumped in the other three movies. I don't think he always has this weird plot armor or plot knowledge.
Yeah.
Hand Indiana Jones a cell phone, and I bet he'd be stumped.
Yeah. So obviously there's people waiting for him because of old Mac. Fucking aggravating. I get what he serves to the plot, but fuck him anyway. I don't know. It could have been just some like random guy, because in the other movies there's always just some random ass dude who's like working for the Nazis, or could have been working for the KGB.
Yeah,
the eye patch guy with the monkey.
Dr. Octopus in the first movie.
Yeah, or
Alfred Molina.
Whoever.
That's why I think that's why I'm calling this like an ensemble. They got a bunch of stars.
It's too much.
And it's like,
I'll get to this in a second, but it's too many people. That is a problem.
I feel like that really started becoming a problem with blockbusters around this era too.
Yeah.
But stuff just started feeling bloated.
This is the Expendables era. So.
Yeah. But I do like, now, like I said, in some of these other episodes on Indiana Jones does have a problem where most of his villains are kind of two-dimensional, and Spalko is no different. But at the very least, we do get her interests in psychic warfare and what the skull would do. But it's the same thing as the Grail. Like, they'll use it to take over the world, et cetera, et cetera. The only thing is that we do get like the moment at the end where you do understand that she does have this lust for knowledge, but that is like the extent of her character development in this movie. But
how do you feel about Cate Blanchett being Russian?
It's kind of like a campy, pulpy kind of thing.
It is a campy, pulpy. She definitely strikes me as an American woman acting Russian.
Yeah, they based her character model. In Rebels, there's a character who is pretty much her, but in space, which I find interesting.
Yeah, that's a better character than this character.
Yeah. I do like she tells Indy about psychic warfare, and then she has him like look into the eyes, which is important because now he starts to believe, because this being has connected with his mind and is telling him to return the skull. And I do like seeing that his friend Oxley has been his mind's been almost destroyed by too much connection between this being. And so that definitely adds to the mystery. Some of it's contrived, especially when he's like, there will be 3 drops and all this stuff. It's just like, okay, why do you have to be so cryptic, dude? I don't know. But, I do like that scene. I'm glad that Mutt was able to have, I like the connection that's implied between Mutt and Oxley, because he does actually get emotional seeing him in this state. That adds some development.
He gets emotional in the prison cell, like he's
he is.
Up. That's when Indy does his first fatherly thing by like grabbing.
Yeah, and that's a good part. That's what some of the core emotion of that I do like, and it works. And it shows that on top of his cool guy facade, he is very similar to Indy in the way that he's stated that he does like to read a lot of books. And he obviously, his mom has put him through fencing and all these big schools and stuff, and it just wasn't for him. Just like how Indy does have that, like, he does like academics and he likes presenting himself as the scholarly guy, but he's in the thick of it all the time. So
right, and it's almost inverted because Mutt likes presenting himself as a tough guy, a Mutt,
right,
but in reality, he's a scholarly kind of guy.
yeah. And that's the thing is, like, obviously they're going to save his mom, which is Marion Ravenwood, and I love Marion, but they don't give her enough to do in this movie, and
she really doesn't.
Yeah,
she doesn't have a lot to do, and that's something I noticed on a rewatch. Is I think everybody was really happy to have Marion back, but she doesn't provide a lot except fan service.
There's a lot of good stuff between her and Indy in the middle act, but beyond that,
right. And it's dialogue focused, but what does she actually do?
Right.
She dodges a machine gun and she falls into dry sand and exposes her son as the bastard son of Harrison Ford.
Yeah, she does. She drives the car in the jungle chase. We'll get to that in a second, but that's about it. And it's kind of stupid that she's like, let's drive off this cliff. And it's like,
she does help provide one of my favorite bits in the whole movie. And it goes back to like Mutt and Indy talking about school. And he's just like, yeah, do what you want to do if that makes you happy. And then when it's revealed right beforehand, he's like questioning, he's like, yeah, you just let him go out of school. And she's like, Indy, that's your son. And he goes, why did you let him drop out of school? And that one cracked me up.
Like, I will say the quicksand scene's kind of pointless, and they could have just had that conversation.
And it's
grab this snake and imagine it's a rope. That's just the stupidest shit.
Yeah, just so they could do the snake gag, she could have told him. They could have just extended the scene where they're in the back of the truck tied up, and him. I get, you want to pad it a little bit with some adventurous stuff, and so they want to do the snake gag, but it's kind of just dumb.
And the joke of John Hurt getting help. I like John Hurt in this movie and every movie. I like John Hurt.
I do too. But it's just like, they run away, do this quicksand scene, and then immediately get caught again. And I was like, what? This could have been structured differently, I feel.
I
stupid. But I do like the dialogue between them when he does realize it's his son. So.
Oh, absolutely. I almost feel like they just wanted quicksand. Like they were going down a jungle adventure tropes, and they're like, well, we gotta have quicksand.
Yeah, we gotta have
vine swinging. They were just like going down tropes and like, well, we gotta have vine.
And then he gives a lecture about how it's not actually quicksand, but it's dry sand.
Yeah.
It's like, well, actually, like,
yeah, what a nerd.
Depending on the viscosity.
At the very least, in this part of the movie, at the least, Indy gets to hit Mac in the fucking face. And that's the only part that I like about the guy is him getting hit in the face. It's just like, shut the fuck up.
It's the second time he gets hit.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So after this, we get the jungle sequence. The sequence on the motorcycles at the beginning, or not towards the beginning, but about 30 minutes in, when they're going through the school and stuff, that's a really good chase scene. I will say the jungle car chase isn't as strong, and I feel like there's something up with the pacing, and it feels too slow at times. And I do like Shia swinging the sword and shit, but it's just not as thrilling as other chase scenes in better Indiana Jones movies. I'll just say that.
I really enjoy this chase.
That's fine. I really think I may have just seen this movie way too many times.
That could be the case because I'm not saying you're wrong. I think it's a stupid and it's the most like unbelievable one, especially whenever you've got Mutt making his comeback on vines. Like,
and here's the thing: I rewatched that scene on YouTube during this podcast just now, like 20 minutes ago when we first brought it up. He catches up to the cars.
Yeah, it is.
I rewatched to see how ridiculous. I'm like,
the word I want to use, I will not use because then I'll just have to bleep it out. But when I
Well,
saw
and
him,
they kind of do it like he sees the cars and you think he's going to cut them off, like the hypotenuse, like meet in between them. And then the cars drive for another 30 seconds and then he jumps out of the woods like he was swinging 60 miles an hour Spider-Man.
I love
Yeah.
that. That is so fucking dumb. I love dumb shit like that.
I can respect it for that. And that's the thing, is I can respect it for being stupid. But I
And
do
there was even, here's the thing, and there's a version of this movie in an alternate universe where he swings on the vines, but it's not as ridiculous.
yeah.
He's not swinging 60 miles an
They
hour.
could have just
Where it's just like he has to swing down to a platform or swing across a gap, like a little more.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, if it was done differently, it could have been more believable. Maybe like make it real intense for him to do the very first swing. But then this, he just immediately gets it, and he's like,
I
fucking
love
Tarzan.
that so
It looks
fucking
so
much.
stupid.
I
And
know, and I love
used
that
to
so
defend it as a
much.
kid, and now I'm like, no. This is I can see why.
That's kind of why I like this movie more now, is because of all the dumb shit that I hated back then. I really appreciate.
I do appreciate that you can appreciate dumb shit like this, because I can too. But at the end of the day, I can see why people were like, no, this is an Indiana Jones movie. We need it to be a little
somehow befriends every
stepped up.
monkey on that vine to help
Yeah.
him fight just the commies.
They
That's
don't, to be fair, they don't help
awesome.
him. They're just kind of, he's following
Yeah,
them.
but they're all like cheering him on and shit, and then they
Yeah,
jump out
it's
with them.
fucking ridiculous. I love it.
No, I'll say, yeah, it's stupid. But I do like the scene right after it way more. I like the fight with the ants, because that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
as a
that's
kid.
fucking still creepy. There's the mummy that had like the scarabs that used to scare me as a kid. And that's like
You don't like bugs,
Yeah.
you said.
no.
Well, yeah, it's like
No, Temple of Doom bugs almost does it for you.
I remember
Here's the thing,
people
I will say, I fell on a fire ant hill when I was a kid.
I
and
have
that-
too.
And that made me hate ants for that reason.
Yeah.
So not other bugs, just ants.
I fell on into it, and my arm fell into it, and I jumped out and ran into the pool as fast as I could.
Yeah,
and
that's smart.
I only got bit like a few times actually.
No,
so
there was no water near me. Anyway, my point is, like, that scene is very effective and gruesome.
it is effective, and
kind of pushes the PG rating it,
yeah, well, it's PG-13
or PG-13. That's one thing.
Yeah, but it's like I remember people even complaining that the ants were CG, and I'm like, how are you gonna do that not CG?
Are you gonna train a million
Ants that are giant ants that are like this big? Like, come on, dude.
You know, the real
Anyway.
real ants like that, but
It's weird that they would complain about that, but like the mummy that came out, 9 years before this had massive scarabs that did the same thing, and those were all completely fucking.
I think they want to hold Indiana Jones to a higher standard, and which I understand. But 2000s at the time, that's just how it was. Everyone was wanting to use and advance the technology of computer graphics. So, we've gotten used to it now. Maybe people can maybe retroactively give this, another chance.
I will say, during that chase scene, watching Marion try to still drive the car while she's being actively shot at with a fucking turret.
Yeah.
That was dumb as shit too, and I love that.
Yeah, it's dumb. But that's the thing, is like, Mutt swinging on a vine doesn't completely ruin the movie for you. You can still watch it. Like,
no, it's
I
about
don't
20
know.
seconds of footage tops.
Dude, Gen X people who like anything piss me off because they always complain about things.
We've talked about this before, I think, on the cast, certainly in our own personal lives. I think the thing is with Gen X is they were the first generation really kicked off with Star Wars. There was nerd culture before, but they felt like they had ownership of the things, because that's when the fan as consumer started to become venerated. So people thought they were valuable because they consumed. And then when the thing that they thought they had ownership of went a direction they didn't like, they had to comment on it, but having no real filmmaking knowledge whatsoever. And not that I do, really, but they latched on to the obvious things to complain about, even if they were nitpicking.
Yeah. All we need to do is go back and nitpick all of their favorite movies, like the Goonies and shit.
Yeah.
But
I like the Goonies.
I know I like the Goonies, but there's just so many glaring issues in so many of these beloved 80s movies. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up.
I mean, Labyrinth is okay.
Labyrinth is mid as fuck.
Labyrinth
No
is
offense,
okay.
Gasher.
The problem is
I love Labyrinth so much.
It has David Bowie and skin tight leotard, so
yeah, it's a fantasy for 14-year-old girls.
It put a lot of 14-year-old girls through puberty. So
yeah.
I like that movie.
That's fine.
Cancer included.
That's
I grew up on the 80s schlock y'all are making fun of right now.
I did too, just not Labyrinth.
I'm just saying there's certain things that, you know, I will admit something like the OG Space Jam is not a great movie, but
that's just objectively wrong.
No.
It's a fun movie I enjoyed from my childhood, but I don't claim ownership over it. Some people still do.
Oh yeah. We went and on a whim we did Beetlejuice on this show, and then half the episode was just making fun of fucking dude for being racist, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just funny.
Tim Burton.
But no, so the way that Soviet dies with the ants crawling in his mouth is one of the more fucked things in a PG-13 movie, I think. Yeah, so it's really the third act once they get to the actual temple or whatever it is, you know, the lost city of gold. That's when you're like, okay, there is too many people in their group. Nice. Tropical mix, baby. Dude, that shit's good.
This is brought to you by Tropical Mix Sprite. Coca-Cola.
I need to pour more Coke, but I can't leave.
Give us a sponsorship. Adrian doesn't work for Pepsi anymore.
Yeah, fuck them. But it is once they get to the lost city of gold, that's when you're like, okay, we need to get Ray Winstone out of here. Fuck his character. And now it's like, now you're starting to notice that Marion doesn't have much to do. And Mutt is mainly just a strong arm in the last act. And it's really just Oxley and Indiana figuring shit out. And it's like, why do we have to have 5 fucking people in your group?
It's an ensemble.
It's also kind of the problem in Last Crusade. I wish Sala had more to do, like I said in our last episode.
Fun fact, they asked him to come back, John Rhys Davies, to do Sala, but it was only for the wedding scene. And he turned it down as he felt the character deserved a more substantial role.
That's fair, I guess.
Well, he's in the new one, so
yeah.
We'll see. I guess he ran out of his Lord of the Rings money, so he should have done the Hobbit. Okay, let's.
He's fucking aged like twice the amount that Harrison Ford has.
It happens, man. I mean, Harrison Ford
back in the 70s. You know,
Harrison Ford has kept himself in fucking good ass shape, dude. I remember, like, even just like 5 or 6 years ago when I saw Blade Runner 2049 in theaters, I was like, this guy's in his 70s. What the fuck?
Well, he's a replicant. He ages differently.
God, he ruled in that fucking movie too.
Yeah, he looked badass too in his fucking beige outfit, and yeah, he was cool.
I love that fucking movie.
And he looked fine as he looked fine as Han Solo, but Dial Destiny, dude.
They just did my boy dirty with Han Solo.
It's gonna be fucking nuts. No, I that's one of the better things about the sequel trilogy.
Nope.
All right, fuck it. No, we're not going there.
I'm with Adrian.
I do like
fucking AARP ad before we see the movie in theaters.
Dude, yeah. So there's too many people in there. They already did the traitor shit with Elsa in the third movie. We don't need this. I'm not a traitor, I am a traitor shit. We already talked about that. But you know.
But this time he was a triple agent.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, shut the fuck up.
Just a greedy bastard.
Annoying. Guarantee that was George Lucas's decision. No offense to the guy. Sometimes he comes up with some annoying ass fucking side characters.
Jar Jar.
But I do like once they get to the temple, there's all the hieroglyphs or whatever the name would be for these things. I know there's probably a different name, but I'm a stupid, uncultured fuck.
I don't think hieroglyphs are just specific to Egypt, are they?
Yeah, no, hieroglyphs I think are Hyro is whatever picture.
Yeah, hieroglyphs. That's appropriate, Adrian. You're good.
And then
I just remember seeing this shit in the wall as a kid, it spooked the fuck out of me because it implies all these old world secrets and secret technology, and they taught us how to cultivate crops and how to build things and stuff like that. That shit was dope. I remember like my mind was running wild.
Yeah, this was
And
the
then
beginning of my downfall for that kind of shit. This
yeah,
shit.
dude, the skull theme starts creeping in as Indy kind of looks at the skull and he puts it up to the giant thing, and then you realize like, oh man, these creatures were so big, if that's what. But kind of, I bet for some reason, for some people, you're kind of still in this like maybe denial of like, oh, surely it's not aliens. Like that's kind of a freaky line of thought to go down, but it just like, you're in it now, boy. And so yeah, it's like right after this, I was like, chariots of God theory, stuff like that. And then
Right.
if people don't
I
know what that is,
wonder how many people walked out of Raiders and thought, they really jumped the shark with that ending. There had to be a sizable chunk.
yeah,
Even if it was like 5-10%. There had to be people, but back then people didn't have the internet to bitch on. So they just went on with their lives because they had lives. Because, they had wives and they had a manufacturing base in America. They had stuff to go
but
to.
also the Raiders is executed a little bit better than this movie. So, but yeah, there is
God's real. Aliens aren't.
I could see that like, okay, this whole movie's grounded in reality except for the last 5 minutes. That pissed me off. Yeah, but also there was more Christians back then, I think.
Also, they aren't technically aliens.
Yeah, they are to us.
They are interdimensional beings.
Which blew my mind even more as a kid. I was like, I didn't even know that was.
I didn't understand that as a kid.
I
still don't really. The space between space, it's a bunch of, sci-fi pseudoscience goblins.
Yeah, it's like that place they go to in the last Evangelion movie.
No, just smoke DMT and you'll go
like
there.
the imaginary fucking realm that they go to in that movie. You just have to roll with it, basically.
Yeah, it's fiction. No.
Yeah, but they go into that throne room, and if you're an avid Indiana Jones fan, you know that like, okay, something crazy is about to happen. And we do get Spalko's kind of speech when she finds them and her lust for knowledge, and they put the skull back on, and they explain that it's a hive mind being, like it's multiple beings, but they all share one consciousness. Which at 13, I was like, what the fuck is what? But now I'm like so used to this level of sci-fi that this is nothing. I don't know.
I think a lot of science fiction tropes. So one of the things that Star Wars did, that Lucas did, is he brought those tropes into the mainstream because they already existed in the literature. And that thing about hive mind, that's another example of Lucas doing that. That's Ender's Game, the enemy of the bugs, hive mind, or that's Starship Troopers, also bugs.
The Borg was like the biggest hive mind I could think of before this.
Yeah, the Borg would be it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't watch Star Trek, and I certainly
wasn't a fucking nerd.
No, I'm just saying. I also didn't read Ender's Game as a kid. Nothing like that.
Rules, dude.
It's overrated, kind of.
Yeah, but it was just like
you could take one Borg cube and it would destroy a Death Star.
Okay, congratulations. Don't care. Now, one of probably the biggest complaint of it all, not only was it that it was aliens, but that it was a CGI alien. And of course, I do agree. Of course, if they could have, they should have used animatronics for it. But I guarantee Lucas and whoever else pushed for computer graphics because that's just how it was at the time. But does that too much for you guys?
No, I don't have a problem with the aliens.
No, they looked good.
I never did.
Yeah,
I don't think an animatronic would have looked that good.
I think it could have looked kind of creepy,
especially because it's like getting layers of skin and muscle growing back to the fucking thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that affects.
I think
people would have complained about the animatronic.
I think we I think people don't realize how far animatronics can have come, and if we went back to that more, people would be astounded by what we could do with animatronics.
I was going to say I've seen recent good animatronic like costuming, and it was surprisingly it was D&D that had it. Like they had some really badass, really good animatronic costumes in it.
There were some good animatronics in the Force Awakens.
I just think that it would look. I don't know. I just don't know if it would have worked as well.
It's fine, but also
I don't think it would have mattered for the people complaining about it. I'll say that.
I do think that it's cool, but as like a crazy thing that happens, it's hard to not compare it to Raiders, which packs a much bigger punch and is a more badass, hard-hitting finale. But also then I'm like, well, wait, the big thing at the end of Temple of Doom is just the stones burning the shit out of Molaram and he falls down. And then at the end of Last Crusade, it's Donovan just growing really old really fast. So those aren't none of them have ever packed the same insane punch as Raiders, and I guess they don't have to.
They don't have to. Also, that was rated R, so you couldn't have Cate Blanchett's head literally explode in this.
Yeah.
And I also feel like I'm thinking about the stakes. So in Raiders, they were tied up. And in Temple of Doom, they're on the bridge. And in Last Crusade, Henry Jones is dying. So you have stakes, or you have like tension or disempowerment in all of these. Yeah. I'm trying to think of.
That's the problem with the fourth one at the end.
They're just kind of standing.
They could have gotten sucked up into the UFO, but it's not that crazy. The only one who at any point was almost sucked up and was sucked up was Mac, who we don't give a shit about. So I think there really should have been I think there should have right there been some sort of trouble that Mutt's life was in danger, or Indy was in danger. Either Mutt saves Indy or Indy saves Mutt in that sequence somewhere. That would have been.
They got sucked up into that portal and ended up in like the same world that you end up in an Army of Darkness.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, Mutt gets sucked up into that movie, and then it cuts to him in like the Middle Ages or some shit. No, but I feel like if there would have been that danger there, that really would have driven it home and would have worked way better. I do like the whole place collapsing and them looking upon this interdimensional craft as it goes away, because it's really fucking crazy. But yes, you were right. There is that lack there that does make it a bit weaker. So yeah, there are definite flaws.
It's not done as well as, so they beam information into her head, and I think that was done a lot better in Battlefield Earth, a Saga of the Year. I will say they teach a caveman trigonometry and shit.
I still haven't seen that movie.
I
will say the worst part of this movie is whenever Mutt, after learning, he knows now that Indy is his dad, he jumps back onto the Jeep and says Daddy-o. He calls Indy Daddy-o, and I fucking hate that.
Daddy-o? Is it because the word daddy has been ruined by Kingsters?
No, I don't like that. I don't know.
Also, you have to remember he's not as cool as he thinks he is, so it kind of works.
It's a fucking wackest line.
Daddy-o.
Hey, Daddy-o. Yeah. Used to be cool. Groovy used to be a groovy word. Now it just sounds.
I do think that the end of this movie with him getting married, I wish Indy would have ran from the altar. I think that would have been
no way, dude. He needs to retire and relax.
Yeah,
too bad they're ringing him out for another one.
I know, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and it does bring me to, and I don't think so. I haven't looked it up. Is Marion going to be in the next movie? Is he married? Is he divorced?
I can tell you if you want to know.
No, don't.
Okay. It's disappointing. I'll just say that.
CGI.
Oh no, I don't think that. No. I just I just
They
think
recast her with Viola Davis.
no, Disney is like, I think they're going to try and like, how Rise of Skywalker would like try to fix problems that didn't need to be fixed just so they could try and please certain
Oh, so they're
fucking
gonna age her up from the original
fans.
movie.
No.
So Indy's not a pedophile
Yeah,
anymore.
we're gonna get a fucked up fucking flashback to 1970 or 1920s or something.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I know that. I know that they flash back for a large chunk of this movie.
No, I was talking about him and Marion when she was like 15.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna get that sequence.
I don't even want to talk about it.
No, it's disgusting. And dude, what if they do like they show a flashback and they change it to where she is like 1920? Like,
I'm telling you, dude.
just because
Okay.
people complained.
It's of all the things.
Right.
That's a more
So
of a
it
complaint
makes our
than
hero not a pedophile anymore.
yeah. That's one of the fan complaints.
It'll be okay.
Actually.
Yeah, no, and it's like
Well, these Gen Xers always got to complain. They
I
don't
ruin
want
my
their heroes being
pedophilia, dude.
pedophiles.
I do like that it ends on the gag of Mutt pulling up the hat and then Indy's like psych and puts it on and walks out. It's just like, yeah, dude, he's always gonna be Indiana Jones. That's the point. It's driving home. It's not, we were never intending Mutt to take up the mantle. But I am disappointed that Mutt Williams is not in this new one.
Well, there's a reason why. There was Shia trashed this film a lot after making.
Oh, what a fuck!
And kind of ruined his relationship with Spielberg.
Oh, you don't do that, man.
So, like,
Art.
I'll just go ahead and read what they said here.
Just be diplomatic, man.
Yeah,
No,
dude.
And,
Like,
and it's one of those things. Like,
if you're hundreds of
if you're
people worked
starring-
hard on that fucking movie.
That's what I was gonna say. If you're starring in that movie, that's also the work of hundreds of other people. So don't drag it on the set designers and cameramen and everybody else.
Oh, I agree. It's
have
cool.
some fucking decorum. Also, like, just because internet basement dwellers fucking despise it doesn't mean you have to fucking.
Also, what's the best movie you've been in? You were in Transformers 2. It's not like Daniel Day-Lewis is
Yeah,
in this.
Yeah, Transformers 2 is like 10 times worse than this movie. Like,
This
shut
is one
the
of the
fuck
worst
up.
movies I've ever seen, period. I will stand by that. This is the worst movie I've seen in theaters.
That's really disappointing.
So basically, LaBeouf said that he had dropped the ball on a legacy that people loved and cherished.
Shut the fuck up.
That the movie could have been updated.
You didn't have the ball. You didn't make the movie. Go on. Sorry.
Well, it's later on. He goes. The movie could have been updated. We just misinterpreted what we were trying to satiate. And in response, Harrison Ford said, "I think I told LaBeouf he was a fucking idiot. As an actor, I think it's my obligation to support the film without making a complete ass of myself. Shia is ambitious, attentive, and very talented, and he's learning how to deal with the situation, which is very unique and difficult." Well, two Shia's, I give him some credit here. He does say he regretted the comments and their effect on his relationship with Spielberg, because he could have felt that way. He just shouldn't have said it.
But also, I just shot my career in the foot. I feel bad about it.
He was a young gun, though, but you got to keep it in that.
It is fucking crazy. Watch this movie. I'm like, this guy's only 21 in this movie. It's weird.
Well, Spielberg told me that there is a time to be a human being and have an opinion, and then there's a time to sell cars. He said it brought me freedom, but it also killed my spirit because this is a dude I looked up to like a sensei.
Good. Fuck you, dumbass. The guy's been historically manic for his whole life.
He is manic, and he's his own worst enemy. It's so.
And also, he might be an abuser, so fuck him.
Yeah, also that.
I guess that's why also he wouldn't be in this movie. I kind of forgot.
No, also everything else.
There's so much like history with this guy that I kind of forgot that. He's got.
Yeah, he's going through some shit right now, trying to redeem himself in his own eyes. And
so,
like I said,
I will say, this movie does have too much bloom lighting, but that doesn't mean you gotta fucking trash it.
Oh, way too much bloom lighting. That was everything in the 2000s. I played Oblivion.
Yeah.
So, do we have any last thoughts on this movie? Because what I would like to do is final thoughts on this movie, and then maybe for like 5 minutes, Dial of Destiny predictions.
Okay, yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. There's no reason that should have happened. That insane bandwagon on the internet, it was really detrimental. I feel bad for Spielberg because he he made a pretty fun movie. It's not that big of a deal. People take shit too seriously, and they treat these movies like they're children or like it's a part of their identity or something. They need to relax, sometimes enjoy things for what they are. I get being disappointed, but like it's not a horrible fucking movie. So I'm glad we came on here 15 years later to say, hey, maybe give this a second watch and quit being a weirdo.
Yeah, I like this movie. I didn't like it before.
There you go.
There you go.
A vindication for all Adrian.
There's worse way to kill
Fucking Net though, and that's still a bad fucking movie.
I don't give a shit. Anyway, I can't. Y'all give your predictions for Dial of Destiny. I already know a little bit, so
You already know a little bit. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be an extended flashback with de-aging.
yeah.
All right. I think here's some things that could happen. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, she might inherit the title of Indiana Jones.
There's no way.
Not inherit the title of Indiana Jones, but it might be like, and now I'm the explorer.
I'm Ray Star Wars.
I'm Ray Star Wars. It could be that.
If it's dude, no, please don't say that. Don't put that in my head, dude.
I thought they almost did that with Shia, but they didn't because he took the hat at the end.
Yeah.
By the way, my friend's dad was a clothing salesman, and I blame this movie for the rise of fedoras and making them popular with neckbeards because he practiced his sales pitch of fedoras on me, relating to this movie because he knew it was going to be in demand. He's like,
"Is that a fedora? I don't think that's a fedora.
It's a traditional type of wide brim fedora." And
yeah. That's Indiana Jones wears a fedora. That's
always been known. That's how I learned the word fedora before.
Yeah, me too.
They just wear the shitty ones,
the fucking 2008 Euro Clubber ones.
Yeah, dude. It's like if your Workaholics had the joke is like any amount of fedoras is too many for a group that does not involve a Cuban.
Yeah. I'm worried that she's gonna have like. Now listen, folks, we're progressive people, but I stand my ground and say do not put in stupid fucking quote unquote feminist dialogue just to say, oh, I'm a strong female character, so I'm gonna have to say these things to appeal to all the women out there watching this movie because it's usually executed so poorly and
because you can just have a strong female character without the dialogue calling attention to it, because therefore that makes you think of real world politics and breaks the verisimilitude of the movie. Yes. I remember you and I saw a movie that was woefully underseen, I think, Annihilation, which I also think is better than the book, which a lot of people say it's not, but I do.
Annihilation is a fucking dope movie. I love
That's a dope movie, and I didn't realize until about 45 minutes into it, all these characters are women, and then I moved on. And I think that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying,
also, we've had more recent examples of that too, like with Ready or Not, and which is a really under fucking rated movie. And then You're Next, which is taking, these tropes of.
But it's also like Marion Ravenwood. At no point does she have to say anything about the patriarchy.
But she is seen as a strong female character.
Exactly.
She's still female. She's still physically weak and gets stuffed into a basket.
It's like that fucking scene that's been made fun of from the that shitty CW superhero show, League of whatever. It's like some villain tries to punch this woman and she like backs off and goes, "You didn't have consent," and then fucking kicks his ass. It's so bad.
I thought you were gonna say You Hit Like a Girl,
that's another good one though too.
Anyway,
that would almost be self-parody. Any other you have any predictions?
Yeah, any shitty, stupid predictions for this dumb, fucking pointless movie that we're gonna all
go see it because we're doing it for the cast, but I could give two shits about it.
I think that
like Mads Mikkelsen.
Watch it be surprisingly decent, and we don't have shit to talk about.
If it's as good as this, I will be happy. As long as it's not dog shit. I honestly think one of the better outcomes of this movie could be it was just boring. I would be fine with that, honestly. That could be okay, this is a weird fan fiction Disney made.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. There might be something in between this and Dial of Destiny. I'm not sure yet. So I just know when we do Dial of Destiny, I will be in my hotel room. So we'll see you next time.
Bye. Have a wonderful time.